This episode of After the Table is brought to you by the Twenty-Sided Tavern. The global phenomenon that is Dungeons & Dragons is now live on stage in an experience that Nerdist calls rip-roaring funny and truly a wonder to behold. Join us for an interactive fantasy adventure where you choose your heroes, battle monsters, and help 3 adventurers on an epic quest to save the world. A blend of theater, gaming, and one-of-a-kind storytelling, this show is for you whether you're curious about D&D, a die-hard gamer, or a lover of adventure. No matter what quests you conquer, this experience will never be the same twice. Check out the tour schedule now at the20sidedtavern.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of After the Table, a TTRPG podcast. Tis I, your favorite, sometimes plays on the stage, hasn't done in a while, drag queen and burlesque performer, Shelly Von Miller here. Hello, hello. I miss being on stage, y'all. It will eventually happen. Just stay tuned. I promise. There are some things to come. But speaking of the stage, I was able to see at least one of these people, but the production of this stage performances, I don't know, improv. They are part of a wonderful improv production that's D&D based. They just ended their off-Broadway stint at Stage 42 and about to hit the road, so you might get to see them on a stage near you. We are lucky to have at the table this week Alex and Cassidy of Twenty-Sided Tavern. And well met, everyone.
Hey, I haven't heard that in a hot second.
Yes.
Takes you right back.
There you go. I was like, here's the nostalgia.
Ooh, little hit right there at the end.
You're like, I gotta get ready. Yeah, I was, like I said, I got to see y'all in New York the last week, and it was a good time. I was like, you know what? I love this. I want more of it. But please introduce yourself. Either one of you can go first. Tell the people who you are.
Great. Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Cassidy. I use she, they pronouns. And in the Twenty-Sided Tavern, I originally started off as primarily Dungeon Master. And then I started understudying Stomp as Tavern Keeper. And I most recently made my Trickster debut, which is one of the player character tracks. So that was a fun little journey for me.
And they're stunning in every one of them that they do.
Thank you, darling.
An absolute delight. And then, hey fam. I'm Alex Stompoly. I also go by Stomp. If you've seen the show, that's how you know me. I joined the tavern as the understudy to the tavern keeper and then took over full-time. And then right there at the end, they let your boy DM for a little bit. My pronouns are he, they. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So just loved it. And maybe one day, maybe I'll be a player. I don't know. I like being behind the bar. I like having control. I'm not saying anything, Cass. Wipe that look off your face. Nothing has been said.
I will
Coming for your gig. So, I mean, how did Twenty-Sided Tavern get started? How did y'all get involved? What did that look like?
So I believe it started as like a passion project with just like a group of friends over Zoom during the pandemic. And I think that there was like tiny little stints that had occurred in a venue that no longer exists in New York City called the Asylum. They had like a brief, 2-week long stint there. And then they took it to Pittsburgh and the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And then they had a sit down in Chicago for a little while, which is when Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast caught wind of it. And they spent, I think, a year and a half negotiating the contract to be like, hey, how do we get you officially on this IP? And then we opened off-Broadway in New York, which is when Stomp and I both joined.
Yep. Boy, if that ain't the history condensed down into a good little elevator speech.
You're
yeah,
like,
come
on, elevator pitch, let's go!
Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap of Twenty-Sided Tavern. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. But no, that's okay. So it's been all over the place. It's had its own iterations everywhere. It's an official D&D Wizards of the Coast thing. How does
Yeah.
that feel to be part of a production that is corporate in a way?
It's it's a little surreal because the I don't know how you feel, Cass. I think the thing that like when it cemented that we had entered into the arena in a different way was when the anniversary issue of Time magazine came out,
Yeah.
and they were doing the big like 50th anniversary D&D issue, and we our show was in it, and we hadn't really I mean, Cass and I had just joined, and like
Hmm.
obviously the show had existed for a while, but it hadn't had the Dungeons and Dragons moniker, and then to get it to open and then to be going, and then this issue dropped in like October, and then to flip it open and you see these kind of pantheons of the TTRPG world and of Dungeons and Dragons, and like right there is like us. It was kind of like, oh, like we're in it,
Yeah.
and then like stage dooring and like meeting people as like the run continued, and like people coming up and being like, will you sign our like my player handbook or like my Dungeon Master's guide, and you're like, oh, okay. That's okay, that's so trippy. Yeah, sure, absolutely. I will be. Does this really mean like does my name mean anything? Okay, great. Um,
Yeah.
Well, now y'all are canon in a way, like y'all are official, and
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
amazing. And I'm assuming Wizards is because y'all are going on the road soon. How is that? How is that looking like with Wizards and everything like that?
We don't get a lot of so as the cast, we don't get a lot of one-on-one time with Wizards and with Hasbro. We've met a handful
Hmm.
who have come through and seen the show and have voiced nothing but like wonderful
Oh,
support
they've
for
been
it.
lovely.
And they're like phenomenal. Like right after we opened, Wizards sent like this really beautiful like care package to the like dressing room, and just everyone has been so kind and so like lovely and taking care of the show. A lot of what they do is like past us. Like by the time things come to us, there's been a meeting upon a meeting upon a meeting, and they'll be like, and today you will refer to this class as warrior. And we're like, okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
um but it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. And for us, I think the real treat is because the show existed as 20-sided tavern, as Cass was saying. Um in the beginning, and so we were able the cast at the time was able to do I would say like I can't believe it's not Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Like it couldn't have anything specific, and that's really like the big key that's unlocked a lot of doors. Of all of a sudden, look at all this IP that we get to play with, and we get to add that to like the improv arsenal, and we get to actually like name drop and not feel
Yeah.
like we're going to be taken out back by a corporate overlord and be like, "Did you have permission? Did you have permission?" And, so
I believe one of our original lines when we were still unofficial was, "There will be dungeons, there will be dragons, but they will never be in the same room at the same time."
They're like, there's gonna be nope. I'm not gonna make that joke. I was like, there's a glory hole right there. It just like slips through.
oh yeah, it's all off-brand stuff. Yeah, the
Yeah, it's
dungeon's a
off-brand.
it was a BDSM dungeon, and it was just a leather hood on the dragon.
Exactly.
It was BDSM.
It was a bad
dragon.
It was a bad dragon and a BDSM. There you go. But okay, so y'all have been in other plays and things like that. What did the audition process for 20-Sided Tavern look like? Like, was it like you auditioned by playing D&D? Were you like, was it just like a normal audition where you like do some lines, whatever?
This is truly genuinely one of my favorite things to talk about in the show process because it was so bonkers. I mean, I immediately before doing the 20-Sided Tavern, I was on another tour with The Sound of Music. I was on the international tour. And that's like, capital T, theater, like, you hit your mark on the stage, you do your number, you do your very choreographed, like, you put your hand on the table and you look out at this line and then you leave. Like, it was, so structured. And then coming into, like, what is easily the least conventional project I have ever been a part of, starting from the audition process. I remember seeing the posting online, the audition call, and the 3 videos that they had asked for in the very initial submission was they asked you to tell a joke or a humorous story.
Mhm.
They gave you a a page of like 6 to 10 characters, I think, just like character art. And they said, okay, name species, class, and give them like a hook, give them like a little bit of like a backstory. I think just to see if, like, to test the waters to see who knew anything about D&D. And then they provided a chunk of text from one of the earlier iterations of the show to see how you handle text, like the Dungeon Master text. I think you had options, and I chose one that was like about a whirlpool, I think. And then based on that, they had the first round of callbacks in New York. And it was so fascinating because the room was, it was a bunch of improv games that weren't necessarily, they didn't necessarily build off of each other. They weren't really like storytelling or acting games. It was literally like zip zap zop. And I was like, how are we casting this show based on zip zap zop? And then from that, we made it to the second round. And then we started doing like actual like improv with each other and like, okay, pick one of these characters that would be in the show, embody that character. There's a moment, you've seen the show, at the top of the show where after the audience selects the characters, they all go backstage and they get into their costumes, and then they re-emerge back on stage once the DM and Tavern Keeper have effectively set the stage. And we call that the meet the party scene, which is when the characters come out and they kind of establish like, oh, what happened immediately before this? Our boat caught on fire and we accidentally killed a bunch of sheep that we were transporting. And like, that's just, you just make a choice and you go, and that's the meet the party scene. And so for this part of the audition, they split us into groups. They had each of us be like either a character or the Tavern Keeper or Dungeon Master, and then do the meet the party scene and make those choices and interact with each other and bounce off of each other and play with that energy. I will say they never once asked me to be a character. They only had me do the Dungeon Master track, which is literally just saying, and our story begins, as so many often do, with the unlikeliest of heroes. I just said that like 6 times, and they were like, yeah, booked and blessed. And I was like, great! So that was my audition process, Stomp. I don't know how yours differed.
Not too much, really. I guess the biggest part of it was that I wasn't on the national tour of Sound of Music at the time. This huge difference in the story. I was in Maryland. I was doing the play that goes wrong prior, and then I saw the notice. Video is the exact same as cast, and it was the audition was absolutely and this is 100% valid, a vibe check. Like the first one was to be like, who can hang? Respectfully, who can hang?
Yeah.
Like can you go with the flow? Are you an agreeable person? Are you someone that we're gonna want to have in what I don't think people would really realize is a very intimate setting for so long. Because it's not a big company. I mean, it's 9 of us all together, and we are in a high energy environment, and because you have to be able to trust, and because there is no script, right? You have to be able to trust your partners, and you have to be able to look at people and know that they are going to have your back and they're going to support you. And so the vibe is they have to be immaculate. So that really was the day one, and cast, and to the video point, a lot of that was pre-screening because they didn't even in the audition notice they didn't post where and when like the preceding in-person things were going to be. That was by invite only. So like the tape was not only so much like initial submission to get like just out front. It was like, this is what gets you to the next thing. So it kind of reveals where you're going to be, and then my second callback, I got Tavern Keeper sides. So from the jump, I got the it was the block fall down back and forth between the Dungeon Master and the Tavern Keeper. I remember it very vividly. And got that. That was what I stayed behind and read, and then bopped off and went back to PA. And a couple days later, they were like, "Hey, can you be in New York to do this full time?" I was like, "Sure, let's ride." That was the same setup.
Yeah, I remember in my callback group, I think I had met RJ actually, who I don't think you got to see him on stage, but he's another swing in the cast, and we had just met right outside the callback room, and something about, oh my god, the way his sense of humor just like gets me every single time to like high pitched shrieking giggles where like I feel like I'm gonna piss myself. He's so funny. It was him in the room, and also Alex Murray, who was with the show from the very beginning and is currently still in the cast. All three of us were in the final callback room together, and I remember clocking both of them in the room and just being like, "Oh, these are good vibes." And I was the dungeon master for their player character group, and both of them were in my group. And there was something about it that felt very magical in the room. And then it was incredible to see, oh my god, two of the people that I read with also booked. It was so sick.
That's amazing. Have y'all played D&D before? What's your experience with D&D?
I mean, yeah, my dad played when I was a kid growing up. We're so polite. We're almost probably too polite. Someone should just take initiative. Roll for it. But my dad played when I was a kid, and he played 3.5. And I'll be very honest, when I was growing up, and like when you're a kid, not all the time, but a lot of time, you have like a natural repulsion for anything that like your parents do. You're like, no, I don't wanna. You do it. But I was obsessed with his manuals, and so I had his books when I was a kid because I just like loved the artwork and everything. And I really didn't play when I was a child. I didn't come back to it until I started working at a Renaissance fair, which is a big bulk of my professional career. I was at one for 7 years, and when I joined, that's another like precarious environment where you're kind of thrust into living with a bunch of people and like existing as this commune, for lack of any other word that would do it justice. And D&D was one of the things that we were like that got reintroduced, and under the guise of like probably any improv actor worth their salt who's wanting to continue that should really play Dungeons and Dragons, because that's
Yeah.
really that's just like living in the given circumstances and just existing. And it helps you with choice making and characterization. And so I started playing then. So the 7 years that I was there marked with like a 3 year long like westward expansion campaign. And so when this came around, I was phasing myself out of working at my Ren Fair job and was looking for something different. And I was like, improv, D&D, and inside with air condition, sign me up. So yeah, I have played and have continued to play.
Yeah, I jumped in during the pandemic. I had been given a very brief introduction in high school. There was a group of theater kids who were like super popular, but also like theater popular. So they were like nerdy. And they like introduced me to like Welcome to Night Vale and Doctor Who and Supernatural and, like all like the nerdy stuff. And then one day I received an invitation to go sit and like watch them play D&D. And I was like, that sounds kind of nerdy, but like I'll show up, I guess. And there was one other person who was also kind of like tangentially revolving around this friend group, and his name's Mark, and we're still very good friends. And the two of us like rocked up to this like D&D session together, and we made just like these two little, I can't even remember what we were. We were just like halflings who kind of rolled in, and our names were Skigs and Skags. And we would just gotta be like, nerdy, 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 and then bounce out. And I was like, I hate this. This is terrible. I don't understand what's happening. I don't get the dice mechanics. I hated it. And then my partner during the pandemic was like, hey, I'm starting a D&D campaign. And I was like, because I love you, I will try and we'll see what happens. And then I wrote a character with a 7-page backstory, and we played for about a year. And then I joined a second campaign that went on for 4 years. And I tried to keep playing while we were doing the show, but I think it was just a little too much D&D for me. So I took a little step back. But suffice to say, I do very much so like Dungeons and Dragons now.
Which is funny because that's the opposite reaction to one of your other castmates of the show, one of the members of Bards of New York, who is like,
what did old Billy Boy say?
No, nothing. I've watched, and so that's why I'm just like, Wait, that's the opposite reaction. You like too much D&D, and he's like, I want all the D&D.
Very
I
much
want.
The reason behind that is because Will is British and shouldn't be trusted.
There you go, everyone. You have an accent. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, no, not at all. No, I adore Will. Well, and Will. I mean, God, Will is already a staple. Speaking of that, sorry, this is so tangential. Shelly, congratulations on the Crit Award nomination.
Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, as we're recording this, voting is still available, but whenever
Let
this
'em
comes
know.
out, whenever
Yeah,
this
that's
comes
fair.
out, I think
We
it will be done. Voting will be done. I don't know when they'll announce it, but there you go.
we'll do 2 takes of audio. We'll do a congratulations, and then we'll do a.
Oh yeah, yes.
you'll get them next time.
We'll get them next time.
But yeah, that's so funny.
Which is funny because it's for best player, and I'm like, huh? I have my stage background is I do drag and burlesque, so I'm like, improv. I don't know her. Sure. I mean, I don't choreograph my stuff, so I guess that's improv enough. So yeah,
actually,
thank you. Yeah. No, but thank you so much. I was like,
of course. But yeah, but William.
But
So much
William,
D&D.
But William.
all the D&D, also Crit Award nominated. So
Yes, and
there you go.
congrats to Will and to Bars of New York.
Bards of New York.
Congratulations, and/or you'll get them next time.
Yes. But okay. So while y'all were at stage 42, y'all had some amazing guests show up.
We did.
Who run the gambit of internet nerddom, freaking actual play performers, and AAA just actors in general. Just how did that feel?
It was crazy is a really good word, and then I feel like even crazier than having them join us is how it's been since they've been in the show.
Yes.
Like, and
The ripple effects of
well, the ripple effect and the fact that they're still in our lives, which is, I think, a testament. One thing we've always prided ourselves on, and I think this is really cool because it is a bigger, or maybe it's a microcosm of what happens in the bigger scope of things in the TTRPG communities. That it's a welcoming place, that everyone has a home there and has a spot at the table, and we have always created that environment at Stage 42. And it was one of our main goals every time someone new came in. Regardless of clout or credit, it was just like whoever joins us is part of the family, and we love them. And the subsequent fallout from that is I was just in London a couple weeks ago, and in the short time that I was there, I had coffee and sat down with Dev Wild, and I went and got to see Sam Bayard, and they're still part of our life. They are friends now, which is so weird. It's just it was great.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's also just incredible, joining the D&D community, I feel like kind of late in my own life, but seeing the work of Bria Iyengar and then being able to share a stage with her and be like, oh my God, what just an absolute force of nature she is. And also how incredibly lovely she is off stage as well. Every guest we have had come through has been so wonderful. We've had no divas, and they've just been so ready to just jump right in with us. And we had a secondary dressing room that was its own private room with carpeted floors and real fancy. And every guest was like, no, I want to be in the main dressing room with the rest of the cast. I want to hang out with my castmates. They've all just been, so wonderful. It's been stellar.
And every show we had with every single one of them, the real gift was it becoming then a master class. It's not every job and every profession where when you're at work, you also get to really to really learn and to watch someone else come in and break the game in a great way. And then you can put something away and go, oh, that's super cool. I love when they did that. I love when they saw seeing that. And so that's just such a gift. And it was a gift that I'll forever be grateful for. Every single one of them improved the show. And I think not that anybody in the company needed improving at all, because but every one of them improved us in some way, whether
Yeah.
that be through like confidence or a boldness to make a choice, or are we allowed to curse on this? I never asked.
Oh, go the fuck off.
Okay, great. And like, or like a just fuck it attitude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to monetize or anything, but yeah, it was
I don't care.
so great. Okay, good. Yeah.
No,
I will say.
Crazy.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, our guest stars, I think they each left us with something, either a brand new way to navigate the show, or they left us with a rule. So for example, Felicia Day was, I think the first player we'd ever had who just attacked an NPC who was like there to like give a quest, to just give like we were in the carpenter shop and
Set it on fire.
Yeah, set it on fire and killed the carpenter. And I remember she was like, we were doing our improv scene, and Stomp was my TK and I was the DM, and I was being the carpenter who was like kind of sort of built to be this like laissez-faire, like doesn't really give a shit about you or your quest. And he's like, like, I don't know. I don't care. I'm not invested in the world being saved. And she just goes, can I fireball him? And I look at Stomp and I go, can she do that? And he goes, let me see. And he tried the combat effect to see if it worked in the room, and it did. And Stomp goes, yup. So moving forward, it was like, oh, okay, we just broke this wide open. We can have combat anywhere, anytime, the way that D&D should be played. And it's been a fun adventure.
What are some what is a outside of like fireballing for the first time? What are some stories from either guests happening or just like whenever it's just the normal cast happening that you're like, oh geez.
Well, so
You know it's going to be a good story, and that you're trying to pick your words properly.
You also like try to hem and haw. Like, you try to like pick one because
Yeah. Choose your favorite.
Choose your favorite. I think I have a clear example of the guests breaking the game and establishing like what we called rules. Also, then like one of my favorite like player moments that has inspired. So the first story I guess goes to Dev Wild. Shout out Lizelle, who in their like journey just Dev's existence loves ranch dressing, and so this would become a thing that would just get just inserted at any moment during their run, regardless of who they were. They were Ethel, they were Dustin. It didn't matter the character, didn't matter the circumstance. They'd be like, I'm thrilled to come on a journey, and I love ranch. And like it just kept happening. And so we do like a shot of success and like a shot of shame, depending on like the crit, and shame is a pickle juice shot. And Dev's obsession with ranch, I had taken to having ranch seasoning powder and like would rim the glass for Dev, and like they'd get like a pickleback, shot of ostensibly with like ranch seasoning. I also had like a little bottle so I could like do the rim of it in the ranch dressing, and then I would do the seasoning and I'd pour them the shot, and they had a great time. So we're at final like BBEG combat, and Dev knows that I have this bottle of ranch, and they're fighting. I want to say they're fighting something, so I don't remember. Somehow pancakes are involved, and I can't remember if that's a Dev setup or the villain was pancakes. I don't know. I pull things out of a book. It's the audience's fault. And so Dev is describing what they're gonna do, and they're like, and then I pull this giant bottle of syrup, but really it's ranch, and then comes running over to me, and I give them the bottle for visual. And they go, and I pop the top and get ready, and I go, no, stop. If you do this, if you squirt what I think you're going to do, wardrobe is going to have my head. I will be marched out into Times Square and hit with a bus. And Dev puts the cap back on and goes, fine, I'll pretend, and like pretends to squirt and like deals their damage. And in a victory moment goes, yeah, and then just throws the bottle down on stage, which breaks open, and it sends ranch flying into the front row to the point where over headset, the house team just hears, yeah, we're going to need to talk to someone after the show. A couple people in the front just got ranched. And like our house manager has like, no, poor Stacey has like no idea what this means. It's like, what do you mean they just got ranched? Which then set a rule in the show of like, no condiments allowed on stage, which was something that I don't think...
No liquids, no glitter, no...
Yeah. At least no thick liquids, not to be gross, but nothing... But like I think, it's like crap like that, and it's things that like I think are beautiful and that absolutely can only happen, or like, obviously like, ask for forgiveness, not permission. But I think a little bit that gets emboldened when you've got a little bit behind your name, like when
Hmm.
you're us and we're like, we're so happy to be here. I'm not going to do anything more than roll the dice. I don't want to get in trouble. But when you've got Baldur's Gate money, you're like, to hell with it. I'm throwing a thing of ketchup at an audience member. Shit's going to happen.
It happens. Oh, that's amazing. Outside of the
But
fireball instance, what's a story that you like, Cassidy?
Oh my
Choose
God.
one or
There's,
whatever.
there's so many. There's so many. I will say, like, just like tiny moments here and there that have just like really, just reinventing how to approach these characters on stage. There was one time Bria, for I think no reason, decided that after she would get into her character costume, she jumped into the shower and like drenched herself in water and walked on stage completely dripping wet for no reason. I loved it so much. And then we had to justify why Ethel was wet for the rest of the show. And then, Darren DePaul comes in and he plays he took the warrior track, and I mean, it is a Dungeons and Dragons improv comedy show, but he brought so much heart to the role. And I often found, like, as an audience member just watching him, like, there were a couple times that I was actively moved to tears just with like the story that was built, because I think he's just such like a family oriented individual that I don't know, there were just some really beautiful, touching stories there. And then, we had like Erika Ishii, who helped us establish the rule of like, hey, please don't eat the set pieces because they're just a chaos gremlin and just such an icon. The thing is, it was a totally justified choice. There's a role on the chaos. It was. Don't make that face at me. Let me explain. I will die on this hill. I will kill anyone else on this hill. The thing is, there's a roll on the chaos chart where your primary weapon becomes a sandwich. And so you receive a stat card for your sandwich. It has like a +1 to hit, and it's like a D4. It's stupid and nothing. And Erica goes, "Oh, this is a sandwich," and proceeds to put it in their mouth, which is what you do with a sandwich. You put it in your mouth.
yeah, okay. I'm not going to fight you on someone's podcast, but by your logic, which is flimsy at best, when they all pick up when someone's playing Persica and they have a scimitar card for their attack and they go and pick up the actual scimitar and not use the card, they have clearly decided the card is not the scimitar. So that sandwich card was not, in fact, that would not have been what you picked up. And I will see you in court. We will appeal to another circuit, and I will win. I will take this all the way.
Listen, this is why Stomp is the tavern keeper and the rules lawyer at the tavern. He keeps me in line.
Exactly.
I'm incredibly pedantic. That's what it is.
So with that being said, yeah, there is a DM and there's a tavern keeper, which usually at a D&D table is one and the same because, whatever. How did it feel going into those roles and like having to learn like these separate tracks, but also eventually having to do, DM and tavern keeper?
Yeah. It's so weird because it's changed a lot in the run. When it first came about, a lot of the impetus was because the dungeon master, who is facilitating story and interacting primarily with the player characters and moving things along, could not also run the tech that is required of the show. The audience interaction with Gameotics, which is our software we use to do all of the live voting, and what other mechanics that I have back there for combat effects and whatnot, and health and hit points and stuff. So it was designed as a split so that they could focus a lot on the narrative and that the TK could focus on that, while also existing as this third party arbiter who, to the best of anyone's abilities, was meant to be seen as a nonpartisan entity who could enter the arena if anything ever came about of like why a player couldn't do that or why the DM couldn't do that. So there was this, no sign of like favoritism in a live show. And that's how it started. And that's how it was when I understudied. And I I will never take full credit for breaking because everyone who has also stepped into the role of tavern keeper has brought their own thing for it. But um, when I started doing it more often and when I took it over, and as my DMs and I started getting closer, we all started kind of taking a little bit of a hammer, a little bit of a pickaxe to this kind of intriguing wall between us because we were all a great team and breaking it down a little bit to kind of transform it a little bit now into there's almost two DMs behind the bar now. Um, Cass is one of my amazing DMs. Cass and I have TK'd for Cass the longest as time is concerned. We have just a very good like rep and back and forth. They have endowed me as a player character in certain moments. Um, there are times where Cass will say this is what's going to happen, and I know to take the cue to like bow out or when to like push back. Um, and it's an ongoing change in relationship where now the tavern keeper is less of this sort of ethereal um Marvel-esque watcher type energy to actually another uh equally important person on that stage.
I will say, if I may interrupt, Stomp is being wildly, wildly humble right now. I do believe Stomp, like, I don't want to say single-handedly breathed life into the role, but it was just, I mean, you broke it wide open. And I remember, like, literally from our first show to our last show, the difference is night and day isn't a strong enough analogy. I this is another great story. For the final show that I had, which was as the dungeon master, was the matinee on our closing day. Stomp was my TK,
Mhm.
and I picked an audience member in the front row to name our bartender, as we do at the top of every show. And I can't remember exactly what the name was. Stomp, do you remember it? It's
I
okay.
don't know.
We'll say it was something. It was something fantastical. We'll say it was like Bartleby, something like that. And I kind of poked a little bit. I was like, "Hello, audience member. Why Bartleby? Like, where did that come from? What is that name?" And the audience member goes, "Well, he looks like a Bartleby." And I turned around. I said, "Who? Wait, which one? Which one? Who looks like a Bartleby?" And immediately, every other player on stage came over to the audience member. They're like, "Yeah. Which one of us is a Bartleby?" And they pointed at Stomp. And I was like, "Okay. Stomp is Bartleby." And I fully put Stomp in the DM position. I put a wig on him and I said, "Bartleby, take it away." And Stomp just like was the character in that moment and fully fielded the entire
No.
scene. I just sat back and watched. It was incredible. The way that Stomp is just so like, you always have been ready, willing, and able to jump in and play and just like get in there with your rapier wit. It's just, God, being behind the bar with you is such a treat. I love playing D&D with you.
Oh, you're so sweet, sweetie. And like I think a lot of that comes from what we were talking about earlier when it came time like how the audition was is this it's that vibe check. It's like who can you be around and be that comfortable with? And that permission that I feel, and I think that I hope everybody who tavern keeps and everyone DMs and everybody on that stage doesn't exist unless it's extremely well cultivated with the other people in the room. But yeah, it's all of that beautiful to go back, Shelly, talking about it. It's really it's like an intriguing marriage. It's a really fun partnership, and I am very grateful. There have been Cass, Murray, Maddie, Diego, Connor, Abria, myself. I Yeah, and I have the privilege of saying I have TK'd for all the other DMs that have graced the 20-sided tavern stage, and with each one of them I have a very different marriage and relationship with, and that's a lot of fun. And it's very fun for me to like be like, who's my DM today? Okay, so this is the vibe of how the show's going to go. This is how I have to like second support, and I gotta be ready to go. And each one of them looks to me for different things. I think looks to time for different things, second supports in like a great way, because it wouldn't be possible if the DM wasn't also like, come on, you're also going to play. Yeah, it's just a blast. The amount of times now I've been an NPC that has no real purpose in the show other than because I am there, and they're
Uh-huh.
like, I could be there in a graveyard scene and I may have to sneeze because it's a live show and I've sneezed before, and all of them look over at me and they'll be like, "How long have you been here, random person?" And I have to be like, I've been watching the whole time. I work, I just like immediately have to yes and because these
Uh-huh.
idiots are like, "Oh, now we're gonna fuck with you. You're here." Um, it's a blast.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Now y'all have a podcast of your own for the show, and it's called Ale and Well Met.
Yep.
What was the process of like doing that? Like, what was there like a reason, or was there?
So I think a lot of the impetus behind that is so we have a really excitable and lovely Discord community that has been with the show since like the very beginning. And we try to do like side questions every day and like talk to people and like really keep the interaction going. And our podcast is helmed by the delightful and red bearded R. Alex Murray. And I think this was just another uh, step in the um, environment, creating the environment of us just all being around the table together. Because really, it's like the microphones go up in the room, and I would tell you, 9 out of 10 times, not a topic to be had. It is just, five dumb bitches in a room looking at each other going, exactly, exactly. And like talking about any and everything. And it's very fun. And it's just another like a way for them to get to know all of us. And I don't know, explain our humor and our neuroses in a hour-long audio format.
I will say, we had a couple plans when we first started. We had like one shots and stuff. And hold on. There was one time we actually sourced an idea from the Discord where
Mm.
Murray one day just said, hey, drop the names of songs that don't exist. And so we gathered a list of like 12 to 20 songs, I think. And then we either rolled a d12 or a d20. I can't remember exactly which one it is. And Murray,
Well,
RJ,
one
and
has
I.
20 sides, one has 12 sides. I
Stomp,
guess
I love you
actually,
so much.
technically, they both have 12 sides, one has 20.
Okay. Oh man, what a delight it is to
I haven't
be
seen
in a
you in
room with
a month! I'm sorry!
God, I adore you. Anyway, we rolled one of those, and one of the titles was 7,000 Mice. And then we gave ourselves like 15, 20 minutes to write a song called 7,000 Mice. And then we sang the song. We recorded it once, and it's a jank recording, but we did it. So that was technically a plan that we had and executed.
7,000 Mice. That feels like it's like the national anthem of Ireland during I'm sorry, why were you gasping? Play the
I
piper, get them away!
wasn't expecting Ireland.
New York,
Isn't that right?
maybe.
No,
Pizza
New York.
Rat.
Oh, New York. Pizza Rat.
Pizza Rat.
Sorry, I'm thinking the snakes left Ireland. I apologize.
That's right.
I apologize.
Pizza Rat.
Pizza Rat.
That's when I think of New York. So that's amazing. Speaking of your Discord community, y'all are you go in there and people are just constantly talking, and like people are coordinating to go see shows together, and like people are going to see shows 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. Like there were people in there for the last week. They're like, yeah, I'm going all 7, all the whole week, and I'm like, the whole week?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
It's it is it is so incredible. It is so humbling. It is it, I can't even like fully put into words like the amount of heart that pours out of that Discord. Um I mean, the last night of the show, like I just was looking at it because I was just packing up the house the other day. Someone had from the Discord had made minis of our characters, and not like of
Yeah.
like Cass and myself, but like of like Alistair and Ethel and all of them, and had printed up a handful and was like passing them out to us, like to have minis of the players that of the characters we've known and loved for so long. And then they're like, and I'm just gonna drop the 3D print file and the thing so that anyone who wants to make them can make them. Like they were just like they do so much just out of like goodwill and love and that community building. It's ugh. We have some of the greatest I hear a lot of people say this, and I mean it. We have some of the greatest fans ever. Um, so
I
kind.
totally agree. I totally agree. And just like the creativity and generosity, literally echoing what Stomp said, I feel like I've received so many really beautiful, like personalized gifts.
Mm,
There was someone who like was beginning their dice making journey and they knew that I loved Kirby. And so they like put little tiny Kirby's in a set of dice and just gave them to me one day at
yeah.
stage door. And there was somebody else who like for closing gifts, they gave us each these like these customized like coasters that had pictures of us like
Hmm.
on stage together. And like one side is like, you know, all of the cast and the back side is like pictures of us as individuals on stage. And like that's something that I'm literally going to keep until the day I die. It's such a just a
And
beautiful. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, and I think, and with that, the uh, the thing that I like get hit with a lot that I don't that I still come to terms with, and whether or not I'm always like that I'm always worthy of receiving from people is the feedback and the praise. And it's not so much of the show itself, which is always great, and I love that people enjoy the show, but it's when they find strength and solidarity in us as people, that in the 2.5 hours that they've known us, like they've seen us and then they get to know us more, but in that 2.5 hours someone comes up to you and they're like, I'm really just thankful of your existence. And that is just something, even a year of that happening, you don't get used to, because it's a gift that I know everybody in the company is constantly working towards being worthy of receiving. Like when someone comes up to you afterward and they're like, seeing you being your most authentic self on that stage provided me a place and a um oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the word, but like a sense of wanting to do, and a comfortability and the ability to be able to do that in everything that they do is um, just crazy. When you find out that someone looks at you in any kind of like close to role model sense, it's just very
Yeah.
like, really? Wow, thank you. Okay, wow, okay. Uh,
Yeah. There was a moment. I mean, I've told the story 100 times and I'll tell it 100 times again. But really early on, I want to say in like June of last year, I was the DM for a show, and I remember seeing there were like a group of like 5 or 6 like 12-year-old girls that were all there for her birthday party. And she was wearing, she had like this like tiara, crown, and like a cape on. And the other girls who had capes were wearing capes, and other girls had blankets with duct tape that were keeping their little capes on. And after the show, they came up and they all took pictures with me, and you know, I signed their playbills. And a couple days later, I have a personal website, and I guess the dad of the birthday girl found it and emailed me and said that they were not expecting to see a woman in a position of power on that stage, and that his daughter, seeing me, said that she wanted to become a dungeon master and that she wanted to create her own fantasy world and play with her friends. And it just, ooh, still gets me every once in a while.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I
Just,
guess this is the part where we cry on the podcast. And I guess I'll just
yeah.
poke at that some more. So in May, the early part of May, y'all wrapped up at stage 42. Y'all closed at stage 42. What was that week going into it? Like how did it feel going into that last week of production there?
Honestly, I will say the entire experience has felt very surreal for me. I'm still not entirely sure I ever booked this gig, and I'm ready to tomorrow wake up and be like, oh, yeah, okay, that never happened. Like, this is all such a magical, wonderful dream. I will say, doing 8 shows a week has it as fair set of challenges as much as it was very fulfilling. And I think that we were all kind of sort of approaching a point where we're like, you know what? I think a couple weeks off will be nice to like rest and recover and find that really restorative time off before we launch on tour. But it felt like the end of the school year. And we were all, you know, signing each other's players' handbooks like they were yearbooks. and literally writing in them, "Have a great summer. See you in a couple months in Kentucky." And I don't know, it was just every day you would come in and there would be fewer and fewer things on the walls as people would pack up, but like the room just filled up even more with more love and somehow more gifts from fans and friends and flowers and oh, it was just Murray, the person, I don't know why we keep bringing him up, but he often refers to these things that he calls
More spaces for cis white men to be referenced. That's what I'm saying, Cass. That's why.
That's why. That's why.
You're so right, Stomp. Thank you.
I am the Lorax. I speak for the non-marginalized community.
I will say, Murray has these things that he refers to as deathbed moments, which are like, when you're dying and you're looking back on your life, like what are the special moments that stand out? And I think that entire week for me is just a place that will occupy such a wonderful, lovely, loving space in my mind.
Yeah. It was to say goodbye. Well, it was so weird, right? Like, because I think that's what softened it. I think it would have been a very different experience if we hadn't all been looking at um, the tour.
Absolutely.
Uh, it would have been very. So it was weird to be saying goodbye to a chapter and a very wonderful chapter, but we knew that the book wasn't done yet. Um, and so, or if the book was done, there was one more coming up in the series. But yeah, it made you really live in every moment that happened on that stage that final week in a way that I don't know if we were living in leading up to that. And that's something that just it happens, right? As soon as you come to the conclusion of a great journey or you know something is ending, you do this like really brilliant thing of like trying to remember every single moment and you're really present. You're really, really locked in because you don't know it, but you've probably taken some things for granted leading up to this moment
Oh yeah.
because you were always like there was more time, the extension was coming, or like what is May when it's January, so
Right.
you're so far removed. But yeah, I think it was incredible. It was so incredible. But also too, we weren't kind of given a lot of time to really think about it. We had to be out of that theater that night by like
Yeah.
10:45, and we couldn't come back again. So like we had been, that final night we'd already moved out. Because we just had to be like, we couldn't take everything, we couldn't like walk out of it, so we had like kind of moved out a week early, and it was just so bizarre, but it was great. I miss everybody. I miss um that group like no one's business, just because we'll
Yeah.
never get everybody that was in that space back together again.
Yeah.
And we had been through a
Yeah.
lot.
I will say, Stomp, I think one thing that you missed out on as someone who made your way from understudy to the primary cast, the swings we had all kind of developed rituals and rites, if you will, backstage when the show was going on, that we also kind of had to say goodbye to.
Mm.
Uh, there was a period where we had developed a workout routine that would happen during onboarding. And so it's like, okay, when the DM does their opening monologue, it's a plank. And then if someone rolls a crit, then you have to do 3 burpees. And then there's 20 sit-ups that happen when this line happens. And then there's 20 jumping jacks that happen when this line happens. And then you curl a chair when this happens. So like that was a period of time. And then there was a period, what is that
Why
face?
does this
Stop.
feel like exclusively a you and RJ thing?
Will did it too, sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, all right.
And then
This is also coming from the DM that when we would both understudy a show, we would attempt to do push-ups for the entirety of the onboarding video, and
I
then we would
don't
both
know
be
why.
mad at each other.
Yeah. Why did we do that? We would pop up from behind the bar and be like, the world in which our tale begins is full of beauty, and just like sweating. It was, I don't know. We committed to some weird bits, but Will and I in the final week had gotten to a point where like we had started ordering Taco Bell when the show started, and then it would be delivered about halfway through Act 1, and then we'd be done by the time intermission hit. And so like it was just crazy getting that text from Will before our final show where we were backstage together. And he said, hey, one more Taco Bell run? And I'm like, why is that making me so sad? Fuck. Like, that's, like, it's just, just like the silly little things that you don't think about are that meaningful. When you have the last one, it's like, oh no, this meant the world to me.
That's amazing. That makes my heart sad. But the great thing is, and y'all have mentioned this, in case people missed y'all in New York, or they just want to come see you again for like the 50th time, as some people in the Discord have already planned on going to Chicago. Y'all are going on tour! We're going on tour. Yeah, y'all already have some dates up there. I think like DC, Kentucky, Indiana?
Probably.
And Chicago?
Chicago, I think Greensboro, North Carolina, which is like, I want to say it's not even like 2025. I think that's like 2026.
I think so.
Yeah. They're popping up.
Yeah, there's so much happening. It's almost hard to keep track of, even though like we're actively a part of it. I'm like, I think we're going to that state a couple times, probably. Yeah.
Girly Pop, save the PDF of the schedule. I know you got that in an email.
Have we gotten an updated? We can talk about this after.
We didn't get an updated one, but I can tell you what 4 weeks you just need to scribble in the word Chicago on, because they've already announced them.
It's true. It's on social media.
It's on social media.
But how does it feel to go on tour? Because some of you have been on touring productions. What is this going to look like?
Bedlam. It's going to look like Bedlam. It's the point in Sweeney Todd where City on Fire is playing as the inmates have taken to the streets of London. No, I think it's going to be great. I am so excited. I have never done a tour before. This will be my first tour. It's an honor to have been with the show the entirety of its original off-Broadway run, and then to be part of the company that's taking it on the road. I am very much looking forward to it. I'm looking more forward to it than I was a little bit ago, because I just found out contractually we all get our own room. So that is sustainability, baby. But I think, aside from reuniting with all of these wonderful, talented goobers again and laughing consistently for the next year of my life, I'm excited to get the environment back together, especially in the climate that we are in right now. I don't know if there's ever a visual for this. I said the word climate right now, and I need everyone listening at home that all of our eyes got so wide the frames changed.
Yeah, it's just like...
and to just provide that escapism again is that's the reason I genuinely have stayed a performer. Is I love knowing that for any duration of time I can provide people with an outlet and make everyone feel seen and heard and loved. And so I'm looking forward to being around people, eight people that I love dearly, who make me feel seen, heard, and loved consistently. And I'm very selfish. I'm glad I get that for another year. I'm glad I get to now join those 8 and provide that to other people across the continental US, because not everyone could get to New York. And so it's nice to be able to bring it to them.
Yeah. I absolutely have to second all of those sentiments. I think part of me, when all of the everything started happening and continued to happen, it felt oftentimes silly to be like, the job that I am doing is playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it feels like the world is on fire, and I feel like what I am doing is so silly, and I feel like the work is so unimportant. But then it kind of, you take another glance at it from a different perspective. And after the show, someone once sent me a message, an audience member who's actually now a very good friend of mine, said, it is such a wonderful thing to see myself as a queer person represented on stage and mirrored in you. And recognizing that it is such a privilege to occupy a space where people can see and perceive me as a queer individual and be like, I exist, I am here. Nothing is going to change that, and I'm going to continue to loudly be myself. Go ahead, Stomp.
Yeah. No, I just, and like that, and we get not only that support from each other, but like we were talking a little bit earlier, and this is something that I do have to give them credit for, rightfully, like out front of the gate. It stems past even our production team to like the top. Hasbro and Watsy have also been incredibly supportive about us being our unapologetic true selves. There has never been a push for anything other than that. Our production company, our amazing producers and backstage team have never wanted anything less than that. The show is cast with that idea in mind. That's why we are a diverse company of just varying experiences and backgrounds. To an incredibly amazing point where like we will never, to the best of our abilities, have an all mask or an all male presenting you know show, because we want to continue to keep that diversity. I mean, like if it's oops all dudes, like I've been swung out a handful of times to make room, and rightfully so, to like keep that going. We've just got an incredibly supportive team behind us that want to create that welcoming and brilliant environment in every city that we go to, and it's going to be great to do that for like 40 some odd weeks.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm excited. I'm hoping y'all are coming to a city near me. Speaking of which, maybe outside of the things that have been announced, I don't know if you can. Any hints on where we can possibly see you?
I honestly
I know
feel like
I know NDAs.
That's
I know
the
it
gag is
is, but-
Cass can't answer this question because they haven't looked at the PDF in a while.
That's true. I will say, I think there's one place that notably, unless things have changed, that I don't think we're going to Seattle is the only thing that I feel is really odd, because that's where Wizards of the Coast is headquartered, no? So that's just one thing that I feel is...
But yeah.
Yeah, that's the one...
Well, that probably feels like a designated survivor situation. If something happens, they can't keep us all in one area, so if something,
I also could definitely be lying, and we're probably maybe going to Seattle, and maybe I just completely missed it, so don't trust anything I say.
Yeah.
Real.
I'm the least reliable source of information.
Real.
Easily.
That's true.
Real. But this is the wonderful part of the segment or the podcast where I say, plug your shit!
Huh. Okay. God. By the time this comes out, my shit will be plugged and I'll be on the road with Dungeons and Dragons at the 20-Sided Tavern. But you can follow me on any socials, a Stompoly, Stompoly. My Instagram is poppin'. I am antiquated. I haven't left Facebook yet. My TikTok is there. Here's hoping I get better. I'm in that weird phase of it's a viral sound and my shirt's usually off. So if that's what you're into, hop on. But yeah.
Great.
That's where you can find me.
I'm on Instagram. I'm Cassidy Sledge. And I also have a website, and it is www.cassidysledge.com. Very creative title. I'm not really making a ton of content right now, but the goal is to start doing that once I hit the road. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but we'll see. Should be fun.
Hell yeah. And you could possibly catch 20-Sided Tavern in a town near you. All the links of how you can get your tickets and what's going on are down below in the show notes. Speaking of where to find people, hey, you can find me everywhere on the internet at Shelly Von Miller, because branding, baby. Let's go. If you want to get some exclusive behind the scenes, including our exclusive patron segment called Table Sets, become a member over on Fourth Wall Memberships and Patreon. You can become a member for free or for as low as $7 a month. Help a content creator live her dream of making more content and burning out so quickly in life. With that being said, I love you guys very much, and I will see you on the internet. Goodbye.